Welcome to today's episode of the CIO Water Cooler TV. I'm your host for today's episode, David Savage, and I'm joined by Danny Attias from Nolan. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
You've come along with a bruised bone, which sounds horrible, so I'm very grateful of you taking some time to come and talk to us.
No problem at all.
Look, before we get into anything, who are Nolan?
So Nolan are the world's first stem cell register.
Right.
Been around for around 40 years, and what we do is we match people who are prepared to donate their bone marrow or their stem cells to people who need a transplant, generally with blood cancer or another genetic blood disorder. It's a life-saving cure for those particular types of blood cancer. And we do some pretty important work, as you can imagine.
So I would assume, I might be wrong, correct me if I am, that it's a charity?
It is a charity, yeah.
Yep. I suppose that must be a challenge in itself, because I was talking to the IT director of MenCap recently, who was talking about the fact that so much money goes to children, dogs and cancer.
Yep.
And then everything else seems to kind of get lost, even though they might be quite big names. So getting the right level of funding to take the organisation forward and make sure that you are providing the services that you need must be a challenge in itself.
Income is an interesting challenge for us. We do generate a certain amount of commercial income through our core activities, but fundamentally we rely on fundraising and grants and the like normal charitable income to be able to grow, to diversify. So 10 years ago, we established our first cord blood bank where we collect umbilical cord blood. More recently, we've set up patient services, and we continue to evolve in those directions, but that can't be done without charitable fundraising, which is why we're in the process of launching a complete, I dare use the phrase transformation, but we'll be replacing our website, our CRM. Really, those are just tools. We'll be looking at how we engage supporters. So we've got an entire program, we're calling it Transform, to look at how we engage our supporters across the board. Direct debits, fundraisers, people prepared to give their stem cells, how to make them feel that they're engaging with one Anthony Nolan and not just touching different departments with different people and different processes. So when they come to us and they engage with us, they have a completely holistic experience, and the person that's engaging with them will know who they are, where they've come from. So imagine you're talking about potentially being a match for a stem cell transplant, but we don't know the fact that you ran the marathon for us and your friends and family did a bake sale and you've raised thousands of pounds. At the moment, we don't know that. We're spread across multiple databases. The ability for supporters to feel holistically engaged is what we're focusing on over the next 2 years.
Would you say that the role of the CIO within a charity, and not specifically Anthony Nolan, but within a charity or a public sector organisation, is a little bit more of the traditional CIO role, in that there's probably quite a lot of legacy in having to bring that organisation together first before you can unlock some of those benefits that you're speaking about there?
I think, I don't know whether it's charity, maybe from a cost perspective and underinvestment. So from that perspective, certainly a lot of the first 2 years of my role was getting the basics right. So it's difficult to sit there and talk about innovation, talk about being agile, talk about business insight when there's no Wi-Fi and you can't get your emails on your mobile phone. So people will look at that and look at that default. I think it's really important you've got to get the basics right in terms of your core infrastructure, that legacy CIO role. You get those core basics right, then you can go and have the more mature conversations. I was lucky in this role, the role had already been established at board level, reporting to the CEO. I would be very reluctant to take a role that reported into the CFO, just because of the focus and the dimension might be more about cost center and cost control. I know that's a rash generalisation.
Do the trustees understand that pressure? Because the trustees themselves probably look at consumer tech moving at the pace that it is and wonder why the charity can't adopt that and utilise it.
Yeah, we're quite lucky. A couple of our trustees are incredibly tech savvy, right up there at the digital top table, and that's we're lucky. I'm lucky to have mentorship of that style, and then the rest of the trustees trust those people, who then in turn trust and validate what I'm doing. So that helps. And there's also an awareness of underinvestment in the past in terms of core technology. So saying, okay, we need to deal with that. So we're not having to go there and go, we need to replace things, and they're going, you can't have any money, because then you can't build anything on that crumbling foundation. Getting the trustees to understand the next level around engagement and brand and digital and how that leads to fundraising, it tends to focus on, well, how much money can we raise from this activity? And it's really about building that core platform. So that's part of the journey, and working with the likes of Zoe Amar and the Charity Digital Code, really starting to work on leadership, work on training, and work on digital literacy across the organisation is a real key priority.
Last very quick question. I think there's something like 67,000 registered charities in the UK. It's a staggering number. Could you do more as a sector to work together? You know, you get talked about as the charity sector. That's probably unfair because it's so huge and so diverse, but surely there could be a bit more collaboration to help you with some of those points.
Fortunately, there's one organisation, there are many, one organisation called Charity IT Leaders. Right. I'm a trustee on the Charity IT Leaders, so that leads quite nicely into your question. And one of the things that we do is we work with the top 100 charities across the UK, and we try and collaborate. You know, we work with each other or collaborate, whether it be on ideas, on facilitating workshops, on supplier management, whatever it might be, but we do try and share that knowledge. There is, even though we are ultimately all competing for the same wallet share, the proportion of people spend on charitable giving has not changed in this country. We're not working as competitors, even though we're chasing the same pot. So there's by its very nature, people who work in charities tend to have a kind of more holistic approach to whatever it is they do, and we do collaborate. Yes, absolutely, there could be more, but generally, I think it's okay.
Well, look, it's fantastic to hear from you. Obviously, it's a particularly important area of work that you're looking into as an organisation and trying to help. So thank you for coming in and sharing some of that story with us on the channel today.
Not a problem at all.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of CIO Watercooler TV. If you enjoyed this, there is plenty more content. Have a look at the links below.